Today we are debating an important topic. It will impact many people for many years, both in terms of care as well as in terms of costs. Many countries the world over are grappling with increased healthcare costs. In Australia, the Productivity Commission considered healthcare spending to be Australia's greatest future fiscal challenge, with its share in GDP rising from 6.5% to 10.8% in 2060. In Canada, a study by a non-partisan research institute projected a budget deficit due to increased healthcare spending and income transfers to seniors by 2045. More urgently, a study by Japan, researchers shows that Asian countries are aging more quickly than European countries, giving them less time to react or plan for social spending. Currently, Japan faces a 2025 problem, when Japan's baby boomers hit 75 and older, the age at which government subsidies increase drastically. Already taking up 1/3 of the budget, healthcare spending in 2025 is projected to increase by about 30% from the spend in 2015, with a budget deficit problem commencing between 2021 to 2024. Even though our social support system here in Singapore is structured differently from these countries, funding healthcare remains a pressing issue, and lessons from overseas remain relevant to us. The demand for long-term care in the event of a severe disability will go up from 29,000 cases in 2014 to a projected figure of 69,000 by 2030. While private insurance that insures against disabilities focuses on making up for the inability to work, long-term care is often overlooked or neglected. This may be because the possibility of being disabled does not cross a person's mind. Sometimes it may be that there are other more pressing, urgent financial needs. The children's education, the parents' medical bills, these are legitimate needs. But when it comes to a national policy, budgeting for the nation, we cannot just focus on our current needs. Solutions must possess foresight, and this is where I see CareShield Life coming in. CareShield Life offers lifetime payouts in the event of a severe disability until recovery. ElderShield would give payouts up to 6 years. Even though this may be enough for more than half of the people who become severely disabled, 3 in 10 need long-term care for more than 10 years. Lifetime payouts make sure caregivers and individuals do not need to worry about what would happen if this source of help dries up before recovery. So, this is good. Mr. Pritam Singh raised the issue of affordability of premiums. Mr. Chen Xiaomao did too, and Ms. Sylvia Lim alluded to the fact that the Workers' Party will be addressing this point. Do we want lower premiums? Yes, we all do. Do we want to ensure affordability of premiums? Yes, we all do. But how do we translate those wishes into reality? Now that's the harder job. Let's look at the hard facts to see what the government will do to make the premiums more affordable for fellow Singaporeans. Currently, the premiums are designed such that the annual Medisave contributions for most working households is sufficient to cover the premium entirely. This is so even for the lower income. How is this achieved? Through subsidies and transfers. There will be transitional subsidies for the first 5 years so that people have a good runway to plan and reorder their budget if they need to. There will also be permanent means-tested premium subsidies of up to 30% to help lower to middle-income Singaporeans. For those with monthly per capita household income of $1,000, $1,100 or less, 30% subsidy rate. For those $1,101 to $1,800, 25%. For those $1,801 to $2,600, 20%. This helps to balance premium affordability with the scheme's sustainability. Those twinned priorities of affordability and sustainability are of equal significance, equal importance for our current Singaporeans and future Singaporeans. Take, for example, Switzerland. In Switzerland, although the long-term care insurance is sustainable, affordability is a concern. In 2015, the average annual premiums were around $5,000. In contrast, what we are looking at is about $227 annual premium for males for the 6th year in the scheme for those who were 30 years old when the scheme was launched. Furthermore, unlike Japan, where premiums start at 40 years old but continue to be payable until death, premiums for CareShield Life are only payable during the working years of a person's life, from 30 to re-employment age of 67 years old. Here is another statistic to show what the government is doing to balance affordability with sustainability. The premium payout for those who become severely disabled for 10 years from age 67 to 76. The payouts received are about 12 times the premiums paid. And if the person was eligible for subsidies, payouts are about 18 times the premiums paid. Yes, we want to ensure that premiums remain affordable even in the future, but the slew of measures I have touched on so far provides a formidable and financially sound precedent for the people who will review premiums in future to consider. Essentially, I hope the message is that the government is stating today, what the government is stating today is to take care to ensure that there are measures in place to ensure premium reviews are done with caution and with a slew of measures to assist Singaporeans. And this is the way we do things in Singapore. Furthermore, the paper recommends additional premium support by the government beyond subsidies as the last resort to ensure that no one will drop out of the scheme. Additionally, because it is pre-funded, we need not worry that our children's generation is shouldering the load of the scheme. The effect of a smaller population will be minimized, and the scheme will be sustainable. While this is different from other countries such as Japan, South Korea, Germany, and Switzerland, where they use a pay-as-you-go system, this system is one that is more sustainable and equitable for long-term care, where the costs increase with the age of the cohort. In fact, the C.D. Howe Institute suggested that the Canadian province of New Brunswick mitigates the impact of rising costs in some healthcare services by selectively converting some particularly age-sensitive costs to pre-funding instead of pay-as-you-go, example, long-term care. Some countries with pay-as-you-go schemes are struggling with the financial sustainability of the schemes. For instance, Japan is exploring raising co-payment from 10% or tightening the eligibility criteria. South Korea is looking into raising the percentage of the income being contributed. As of last year, long-term care insurance premiums are 2.55% of the income, split equally between employer and employee, with those without children paying an extra 0.25% of their income. Although the pay-as-you-go scheme in Switzerland faces less concerns about being sustainable, a concern is that the premiums are expensive. There, the health insurance covers up to 60 hours of care services a week, but with premiums from birth to life and varying by insurer, age, gender, and insurance plan, the average annual premium in 2015 was $5,386. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would submit the way we have structured it in Singapore as a pre-funded universal scheme helps to balance both present affordability as well as future sustainability. And to remain responsible stewards for future generations, I would say that we need to balance the equal priorities of affordability and financial sustainability. Allow me to move on to a different topic of my speech, sir, payouts. In terms of payouts, CareShield Life comes in the form of cash and not in the form of service. This is good because it gives the individual and caregiver more flexibility in arranging care. It also accommodates the wide buffet of options out there. But whether or not the payouts meaningfully relieve a burden for the long term also depends on this question. Are long-term care costs affordable? in April this year, although there was an overall decrease from 20% in 2014 to 9.6% last year, Singapore still ranked high in terms of medical inflation. In light of this, what has the government done, or what will it do, to make sure that long-term care costs are kept affordable? Another feature of this scheme is that over the years, as a person pays more premiums, the payout in the event of a severe disability also increases. But if we think about it, when someone becomes severely disabled and receives a cash payout from CareShield Life, his or her future is still uncertain. He or she does not know for how long she will need it. Assuming that general inflation is 2% per year, $600 now would be worth about $430 10 years later in what it can buy. Yes, it is good that the payouts can continue to a lifetime, but how do we ensure they remain sufficient in light of inflation? Medical inflation, I think, is higher than general inflation. Another question I have is whether the severely disabled from existing cohorts from CareShield Life will be excluded. I really hope not. If they never had a chance to purchase Elder Shield, arguably more than anyone right now, they need the support which CareShield Life is going to provide to the future cohorts. Another question I have is if a person recovers from his or her severe disability and no longer receives payouts, what happens to his or her premium after that? And at what level would the payouts be if the person fulfills the criteria at another time? Since CareShield Life has lifetime coverage and is universal, including those in future cohorts with pre-existing disabilities, if a person recovers, it makes sense, in my view, for him or her to still be enrolled under this scheme. It is important to keep this mandatory CareShield Life scheme sustainable. At page 29 of the well-written report, it says, and I quote, "Several large insurance companies have exited the long-term care insurance market due to unsustainable losses, while those that remained have sharply increased premiums and tightened their underwriting criteria." Unquote. That is for several large insurance companies. Therefore, ensuring fiscal prudence for this endeavor is key. In conclusion, sir, I would like to put on record my support for the adoption of this white paper and the CareShield Life scheme it maps out. Much work has been put in by the team at MOH, the committee itself, and MOH working with many agencies. It is a rational plan. The key is to make it sustainable. Therefore, I support the motion.